country who has this opportunity and possibility, because there is a huge amount of capital that can be linked beyond the anchor of the real economy. So chemical reactions in the financial field are almost inevitable. This is not only an opportunity for China's economic development, but also a potential risk. Perhaps this is the reason why mainstream and non-mainstream argue with each other, just like the economic development of industrialized countries has to go through different periods of take-off. China's financial explosion is also destined and inevitable. The final question is what the impact of the financial explosion will be. There are generally two aspects to this. Firstly, it becomes a financial plunder, eaters becoming the makers of international financial game rules, and enjoying the benefits of using capital to conspire to plunder the wealth of other countries. One is being bombed, greatly damaging one's vitality and repeating the mistakes of the Japanese. Of course, it is not ruled out that one may become a predator while also being injured by internal strife. The result of an explosion in an open system is definitely not just oneself, and the energy generated will also be transmitted throughout the entire system. This may be the biggest difference between China and Japan after experiencing the financial explosion. A culture of long-term stability and stability in inflation has been formed and consolidated. After World War II, the German Central Bank went through a process from decomposition to reconstruction. After World War II, Reichsbank stopped its business. On the basis of the branches of the former Reichsbank, the occupying power established Landeszentralbanken, the central bank of each state in Germany. In order to promote currency reform, the Deutsche Bank was established on top of the state central bank to be responsible for currency issuance, policy coordination, and foreign exchange management. In accordance with the law of the Deutsche Bundesbank was merged with the State Central Bank and the Berlin Central Bank to establish the Deutsche Bundesbank to perform the functions of the German Central Bank. Both the Deutsche Bundesbank and its predecessor, the Deutsche Banks, have been committed to maintaining the stability of the Deutsche Mark's currency value and achieving low inflation. As shown in the table, they have won widespread praise. During this period, Germany's average inflation rate was the lowest among the group of 7 countries. Weidmann: the long-term stability of Germany's inflation rate has also allowed for the continuation or even strengthening of a culture of stability. A stable culture in Germany is not the norm, and without the protection of the central bank, it is also a fragile norm. If the painful experience suffered by Germans in the years of rampant inflation and suppressed inflation has sown the seeds of a culture of stability or anti-inflation, then the outstanding performance of the German Central Bank in maintaining price stability and promoting price stability has nurtured a culture of stability that not only runs through the era of great stability but also continues to this day. Concept era business opportunities are experienced just as the Chinese people are complacent about the national policy of family planning, which has resulted in 400 million fewer births in China. The aging population has advanced by 23%. 10 years will come. At the end of 2006, the population of elderly people aged 60 and above in China reached 149 million. Experts predict that it will reach 325 million by 2030, accounting for 21.9% of the total population. The typical 4+2+1, where a young couple has to support 4 elderly people and 1 child family structure. Structural shortage of labor force and insufficient social security income are the numerous challenges brought about by aging, which force structural adjustments at all levels of society. And the most crucial one is the transformation of thinking mode under the transition of old and new. The older generation thinks with the left brain. The left brain belongs to logic, rationality, utilitarianism, personal experience, analysis and calculation. The brain processes information in a time-dependent, sequential, and either-or directed manner. Therefore, the left brain almost represents the rule, institutionalization, standardization and mass production, which is just in line with the rules of the industrial age, bringing about the efficiency of collectivism, and also making focusing on big things and pragmatism the most typical way of thinking of the left brain. From the rule of holding chopsticks in the right hand, the arrangement of multiple choice questions on machine reading cards, to the efficiency of Fordism and the scientific worship of industrial civilization. The products under left brain thinking almost control the past. And in that year generation, left brain control has its inevitability. Firstly, in the early stages of industrialization, the market's ability to allocate resources was weak, and it could only rely on administrative means to concentrate efforts on major tasks to achieve national street rateages. Secondly, the accumulation of primitive capital relies on careful calculation, rationality rather than sensibility, science rather than intuition, and the consolidation of the foundation of the real economy through standardized production based on efficiency rather than the construction of a utopia. Therefore, industrial civilization itself is a civilization dominated by the left brain, and rationality and science are the two of them great magic weapon. But now the situation has made the premise of the era of left brain control gradually fade. Firstly, computerization, miniaturization, become stories, that is, who can tell stories, whose stories are more credible, and who has more wealth. At present, investment banks seem to be the king of stories. Whether it's internationally renowned Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, or China's struggling private equity funds, they are all passionate about telling stories, ranging from building friendships with the president and prime minister to hyping up rumors about the chairman of a listed company. The purpose of hype is nothing more than to increase their equivalent. The financial civilization does not exist independently of other civilizations, but is linked to the first 3 civilizations. For example, agricultural listed companies graft financial civilization onto agricultural civilization. amplifying the achievements of agricultural civilization several times or tens of times through a financial civilization. Technology-based venture capital funds graft financial civilization onto industrial and information civilization, greatly improving the efficiency of industrial and information civilization. At present, the most successful grafting is still in investment (NKS), including popular IDG technology venture capital funds, VC venture capital, PE private equity investment, etc. Each of the four economic civilizations has its own differences. The older the era, the more complete its knowledge system is. However, at the same time, its null is the efficacy also accelerates the decline. The characteristics of different economic civilizations vary greatly, and the corresponding knowledge systems have significant differences. Judging the development trend of the next civilization based on the knowledge laws of the previous civilization is similar to the Battle of Guangdong and Qiying. At present, the society is generally unaware of the arrival of financial civilization. Of course, there are historical reasons for the insufficient capital and high debt and leverage ratios of Chinese enterprises due to, under the traditional system, the main funding for enterprises comes from government grants, and only working capital is provided by banks. At that time, the debt ratio and leverage ratio of the enterprise were both at a very low level. Due to the inclusion of corporate profits in national finance, enterprises generally lack the ability to generate internal financing. After the reform and opening up, due to the extremely difficult national economy, the national finance also fell into the dilemma of two proportions decreasing, where the proportion of fiscal revenue to national income and the proportion of central fiscal revenue to the entire fiscal revenue decreased. In addition, state-owned enterprises faced historic reforms, and relevant departments decided to implement the allocation to loan reform, which means that the financial support for enterprises changed mainly from fiscal appropriations to mainly bank loans. The debt and leverage ratios of Chinese enterprises immediately skyrocketed at the end of the 20th century due to the heavy debt burden on enterprises. Relevant departments pushed the loan-to-investment reform will convert some loans to enterprises, mainly state-owned enterprises, into investment equity for enterprises, accompanied by the arrangement of debt to equity, in the hope of reducing the debt ratio of enterprises and reducing their debt costs. However, the progress of this reform has not been smooth. The debt ratio, leverage ratio, and debt expenditure of Chinese enterprises have always maintained a relatively high level. In this situation, the channels for internal financing of Chinese enterprises are very poor, and excessive reliance on external financing is inevitable. This pattern makes the contradiction between China's financial and physical sectors more prominent than other countries. In sum, I believe that the financial mystery, a comparative study of the German financial system, is a breakthrough through for China the solution to the dilemma of financial services for the real economy provides a thoughtful and actionable reform approach. This approach can be summarized into two main points. Firstly, to streamline the relationship between the financial sector and the real economy sector with the fundamental direction of reducing financial intermediary costs impact on the real estate market, and there has been no mutual influence or kidnapping between the overall national economy and the real estate market. The reason why Germany stands out among developed economies and even countries and the world can be attributed to analyze both the real estate market and real estate finance. In terms of the real estate market, Germany has long adhered to the principle of renting houses as the main source and purchasing houses as a supplement. As of 2020 in Germany, the self-owned housing rate was only 43%, while rental housing accounted for 57%. As is well known, only self-owned housing can be hyped in the market, while the property rights and physical properties of rental housing determine that it cannot enter the scope of market hype. Therefore, the national policy of prioritizing rental housing fundamentally weakens the relationship between the real estate market and the financial system, and eliminates the vicious cycle of mutual reinforcement between the two. Not only that, but the government has also implemented strict and thoughtful management of rent in the rental housing market, further strengthening the management of the real estate market. As a comparison, the self-owned housing rate of Chinese residents reached 89.84% in 2020, far exceeding 69% world average. Therefore, it is very difficult to implement the policy of housing without speculation based on this real estate market structure. On the real estate finance side, Germany also has great characteristics. The Mystery of Finance, the German financial system comparative research, provides a concise summary of Germany's housing finance system, which effectively controls the housing finance market with the prudent housing finance system. Fixed interest rates are dominant and effectively isolate the disturbance of monetary policy changes on the real estate market. Based on the MLV mortgage loan value method, mortgage value evaluation is carried out, and a prudent refinancing system is designed. Low loan-to-value ratio and using MLV as a benchmark to calculate loan-to-value ratio can avoid the cyclical overlap between the financial and real estate markets, blocking the spiral cycle of rising housing prices and mortgage expansion. The management of asset appreciation mortgage loans in Germany is quite distinctive. This book even believes that strict management of asset growth mortgage loans has largely blocked the positive feedback relationship between the real estate market and the financial market, preventing the real estate market and real estate finance from becoming the main factors that disrupt the overall economic and financial operation.